Played out today. Played out today. Played out today. We played out today. And I was talking to the officers involved in this. We played out today. And I'm talking to the officers involved in this. Played out today. We played out today. And I was talking to the officers involved in this. Played out today. We played out today. And I was talking to the officers involved in this particular. We played out today. And I'm talking to the officers involved in this particular.